the battle between the extremes. That it's this daily fight. I'm fascinated by the Kondratiev wave, or the pendulum of, the societal pendulum that keeps going from me to the collective. It's the same thing over and over again. And when we as a society get it right, it's generally 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, not 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. It's that middle ground. Is there a way to, or are we destined to always repeat?
There is a way. And that's why we have the instinct of the way. And the marker for that is meaning. That's the marker. So imagine that you're a biological organism. I'll speak scientifically. You're a biological organism. You're adapted to reality. You have instincts that orient you in the world. Deep, deep instincts, way underneath your cognition. They direct your cognition in ways you can barely comprehend. And one of those deep instincts is the instinct of meaning. And so look, you do this sort of thing, this conversing, you do this for a living, at least in part. Now, you know perfectly well that there's a difference between a high quality and a low quality conversation. You can feel that. You know when you're in the zone in the conversation. And you know because you're completely compelled by what's happening. Time disappears. Your attention is focused on the content. You're generating some spontaneous responses, but your attention is very, very focused. You're not thinking about anything else. Okay, well, then that's because because the conversation is manifesting itself to your deepest instincts as meaningful. Okay, that meaning signifies that you're in the right place between chaos and order, that you're able to maintain a certain stability of thought and outlook, but you're introducing new information into that stable structure at the rate that's optimal for you. And all of a sudden you're in the right place at the right time. And that's the marker for that, because being in the right place at the right time is...
But I think there are a lot of people that are agents of chaos. And Antifa. They're agents of chaos. They believe, burn it all down. Others have been like this, that they believe their meaning is something extraordinarily destructive without a true north marker.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Because they're convinced they're right.
Look, one of the things that I puzzled out a long while back and tried to adhere to the best of my ability was driven by exactly the concern that you're expressing. Because I realized that the instinct for meaning is a genuine instinct, and it underlies even our attention. It's unbelievably deep. It's the deepest thing about us. Okay, but what about
the search for meaning? That's that, or
the experience
meaning
and the
itself?
search.
Okay.
Well, I would say both of those.
Okay.
They're somewhat independent, because the search for meaning is very motivating, but the experience of meaning is something in and of itself. We talked about that in relationship to the night sky, for example.
Right.
So, okay, but your objection was, well, what if that meaning instinct goes wrong? It's like, yeah, what if? What if? Okay, how do you make it go wrong? Lie and see what happens. Because you'll pathologize that instinct, and then you're lost. So if you understand that, there isn't anything more frightening than understanding that. Because your stability as an entity, as a soul, is dependent on your relationship with that instinct for meaning. And if you pathologize that with deceit, you will find yourself in the hands of things that you do not want to be in the hands of. Put it that way.
The argument today is there is no truth. Whose truth? It's my truth. It's your truth. I think what you're saying is you find meaning in truth, and if you're lying about something, then that's the absence of truth. But
well, if you tell the truth to the best of your ability, then you can trust your instincts to some degree, to the greatest degree that you're capable of, and then that can help orient you in the world properly. You can rely on your instincts if you don't pathologize the information that you're feeding yourself. So, if you want to live in harmony with yourself, which you would assume to be somewhat desirable rather than
right.
hellish disharmony, don't feed yourself what's indigestible, and certainly don't warp the world around you with deceit you know to be deceitful. It's extraordinarily damaging and dangerous. And so,
Go ahead.
Well, because I realized that the instinct for meaning could become pathologized. That's what made me obsessed to begin with about the spoken word, with free speech, for example. You were also talking about what orients us in the middle. Well, the thing about the middle is where the middle is shifts, because the environment around us shifts, the natural world shifts, the social world shifts, and so that middle moves on us. And so what we do is we talk to each other, which is a form of thinking. Thinking is internalized speech. So the dialogue we're having is thought. If I'm thinking, I just have that dialogue in my head by myself. It's still a dialogue between two viewpoints. So we orient ourselves with untrammeled, honest speech in a constant search to find that optimal middle ground. But it always moves. So we are destined in some sense to continually communicate about where we should be. That's for sure. But the idea that there's a desirable middle that we can attain through dialogue, well, that's a presupposition of Western individualism. It's also something that's under attack conceptually.
Right. I was going to say, to me, that's where we lose the middle, when we are the collective or we are just isolated at me. And, when you're me, you generally don't lead a mass murder, as a country. You don't round people up. So it's a little less dangerous, but that self-absorbed, nature of just there's nobody important but me is also dangerous. But we've lost, it seems, in a country that should understand it, in a society, the entire Western society, that was entirely built around the individual. We're seemingly missing it, and
there is an assault on that idea. So if you buy the idea that our institutions are basically predicated on tyrannical power, so that's the basis for institutional organization, is power. Then you buy the argument that the dialogue between institutions is nothing but the expression of that power. There are no individuals, and there's no space for rational negotiation. And that case is being made constantly, particularly by radicals on the left. It is fundamentally anti-individual. And there is no room in that system for free speech itself. It's not like it's anti-free speech. That's a misconception. Something isn't anti-free speech if it has no room whatsoever for the concept of free speech. That's a much deeper criticism. And that's part of what's driving this identity politics movement.